So one of the most important things about photosynthesis is that plants use light from the sun. Light is radiant energy or electromagnetic radiation that you might remember from physical science. And the goal is to change that electromagnetic radiation and convert it into chemical potential energy. That way it can be stored for when the organism needs it at a later point in time. So we need to make sure we understand a little bit more about the light that the plant's getting and how it uses that. So light that comes from the sun typically looks rather white. It's not perfectly white, but it tends to look white. And we've seen a rainbow before, so we know that all the colors of the electromagnetic spectrum are in there. You might remember from physical science, violet through red. Over here would be ultraviolet. Over here would be the non-visible part, which is called infrared radiation. And so you have this entire spectrum of colors there, but plants don't use it all. And that's part of the reason why the leaves on a plant are green, and we'll get into that in just a minute. Looking at the electromagnetic spectrum here, you can see that the atmosphere, this is the visible light part right here, by the way, but you can see there's certain bands in here that tend to get filtered a little bit by water here, and we have a lot of water in our atmosphere, and water vapor as well, especially. And so there's certain types of light that tend to make it through more than others. And so this color of purple doesn't get through very well, this color of red doesn't get through very well. So it's not a perfectly neat spectrum. There are different types that can make it through. Now, in plants are made up of, they have three main types of pigments in their leaf. There's obviously quite a few more than that. The two chlorophylls, if you look here, they tend to absorb, chlorophyll A absorbs a lot of this violet and blue and orange, which means this is the color that it reflects. Well, what do you notice about that color? It happens to be, on average, green, and that's part of the reason why that plants tend to have green leaves. The other one, as we look here at chlorophyll B tends to absorb a lot of light in this color range and maybe reflects some of the light there, so it's also going to be green, a little bit lighter green, more yellowish than the chlorophyll A. But those are the two pigments that tend to give leaves their green color because they're absorbing those colors of light that are in this region and this region, and they're able to use it for food, and the green's what's getting reflected. And you can look at the carotenoids there as well. Notice that they are absorbing lights in these frequencies, and it's mostly the yellow and the red gets through, and that's why carotenoids tend to be orange. And so what happens is in the autumn, these two get knocked out, and you're left with your carotenoids, and that's why leaves turn colors in the autumn. But for the most part, what you should be noticing here is that the main colors that get absorbed are in the blue and orangish reddish range, and that means that leaves are green because that is the light that they're reflecting that the plant is not using. And so when we look at plant light, we do get all these colors from the sun, but they reflect the green light, and they use the other light for energy to help them store the radiant energy they get as chemical potential energy and sugar.